today's topic in economics. So we are going to discuss about the cropping patterns, okay, irrigation system, okay, and the role of role of MSP and public distribution system, okay, in Indian economy, okay. So அப்போ வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா if you அப்போ approach to this topic is very important. Okay, in what perspective we are going to approach this? The Indian agriculture. Okay. Okay. So in what way Indian agriculture is very important to Indian economy? Okay. Appo what is the crucial part and contradictory part? Okay, when you see this, Indian agriculture, the Indian agriculture contributes to 1/5 of the total GV of the Indian economy. Or you can say that in terms of GDP, it contributes to only 17%. Or you can say that in the range of 17 to 20% in terms of the GDP. And it contributes to 1/5 of the GVA of our economy. Okay, so this is the data. So you all know this, we have three sectors: primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. Among the three sectors, agriculture is the least contributing sector to the economy in terms of GDP. அப்போ இதில் இருக்கக்கூடிய கான்ட்ரடிக்ஷன் என்ன, முரண் என்ன அப்படின்னு பார்க்கும்போது, contradictorily 44.5% of the workforce is dependent on Indian agriculture. Okay, so it contributes less to the Indian economy, but more workforce depends on what? The agriculture for their livelihood, or you can say that employment, 44.5% of the workforce. Okay, so 44.5% of the workforce, it is dependent on the agriculture and allied sectors. That is equal to around 55% of the Indian population. அப்ப இந்திய மக்கள் தொகையில் 55% மக்கள் இல்லையா விவசாயத்தையும் அதை சார்ந்த தொழிலையும் தன்னுடைய வாழ்வாதாரமாக கொண்டிருக்கிறார்கள். Yes. So this is a contradiction. So in Indian agriculture, it contributes less to in terms of GVA, it contributes less in terms of what? GDP, but more people are dependent on livelihood, or you can say that 55% of this Indian population, they depend on agriculture for their livelihood. All other factors, you know it. Yes. Though you can say that the recent economic survey says, what did the recent economic survey says? There is more people living in urban area, or you can say that when you take the last census, 2011 census, it says that 69.5% of the Indian population, they live in the rural area, okay, where the agriculture is the predominant occupation, or you can say that economic activity. அப்போ இந்திய மக்கள் தொகையில் 69.5% மக்கள் வந்து எங்க இருக்கிறாங்க அப்படின்னா வில்லேஜ்ல இருக்காங்க. ஸோ வில்லேஜில் என்ன பிரதானமான ஆக்டிவிட்டி என்னது? அக்ரிகல்ச்சர். ஸோ திஸ் இஸ் அக்கார்டிங் டு த 2011 census. But still we don't have a census, but our economic survey says, so there was a considerable shift of population, okay, from rural area to urban area. In spite of that, as far as the Indian economy is concerned, okay, as far as the Indian economy is concerned, the rural demand plays a very important role in what? The India's industrial growth. Yeah, rural demand. So what do you mean by rural demand? Okay, rural demand means the demand for goods from the rural area. That is what is called as what? The rural demand. Okay. When you take this Indian economy, rural demand is important. So, rural demand when people have money in their hands. People who are living in the rural area, when they have an income, then that creates a rural demand. So, rural demand and rural income rural income based rural demand the only primary occupation in rural area it is the agriculture. Yes or no? So, the Indian agriculture plays a very important role. Yes, as a means of generation of income to the rural people, and the rural people, based on their income, they demand for goods. Okay, for example, the fast moving goods, consumable goods, tractors, two-wheeler vehicles, construction industries. So these are all the primary non-agricultural activity that is going in the rural areas. So this rural demand-based industries. Okay, so when there is a failure of agriculture, okay, then this rural demand will come down. When this rural demand comes down, what happens? This will have a greater impact on the industrial growth, service sector growth, and hence it has an impact on the whole economy. Can you understand? So, in that way, we can say that the agriculture is a prime moving force in the Indian economy. Okay, if there is a very good harvest, it means that there is a very good employment generated. It means there is a high income prevailing in the rural areas that leads to rural demand. Okay, and when there is a rural demand, the industries is going to perform well, and the service sector is going to perform well, and hence the overall India's growth. Okay, so in that way, rural demand is a very important role that plays in our Indian economic growth. Okay, in the growth. And what is the third aspect? The third aspect is, you all know this, India, we have one of the world's largest population. Yes, and we have the right to food in Article 21. So the greatest responsibility of the government in India is to ensure that every single citizen of this country, yes, is have the accessible for food. Yes or no? For that, we have enacted a very important law, that is the National Food Security Act. Based on the act, we provide a subsidized, rice and wheat, to what? To all the poor people. Okay, so Indian agriculture, it plays a very crucial role, in the food security. Yes, it is not only in the food security. What is the new upcoming challenge? Okay, once upon a time, the aim of the government of India is to ensure that food is available to the people. And what is the current challenge? Yes, nutrition security is a current challenge. Yes, when you take our National Family Health Survey, it still says that more than 35% of the children are suffering from stunting of growth, wasting of growth. Yes, we have a huge challenge in addressing the nutritional health of the women. Yes or no? So for that, the agriculture sector plays a very important role. Yes, and we have so much of emerging other diseases like diabetes. Yes, so due to the calorific based food approach, so for that we brought many initiatives in the agricultural sectors, like you say that the millet revolution. Can you understand? Yes, so we have the hidden hunger in India's nutrition, that is the lack of protein, lack of minerals, lack of vitamins. Yes, so it is not only it is going to play a very crucial role, in the food security, it also going to address the current challenge of what? Nutritional security. Can you understand? So this in that way, agriculture is very important. And what is the last approach we should have? As I said, many people, India 55% of the population, they depend on employment or livelihood for the agriculture. Yes, and what is the goal of the Indian economy? Or when you take the sustainable development goal, what is the main very important goal? Yes, no hunger and what? Zero poverty. or you can say that zero hunger or no poverty. If you want to address the poverty, if you want to increase the standard of living of the people of this country, then it can be achieved only through the development of agriculture. Unless otherwise this agriculture sector is developed, unless otherwise it grows, okay, the people who are dependent on this sector for the income, இல்லையா, இந்த விவசாயத்தையும் அதை சார்ந்த தொழிலையும் தன்னுடைய வேலை வாய்ப்பிற்காக நம்பி இருக்கக்கூடிய மக்களுக்கு அதிகமான வருமானம் ஈட்ட வேண்டும் என்றால் நம்ம என்ன பண்ணணும்? இந்த விவசாயத்தை, வேளாண் துறையை நம்ம என்ன பண்ணணும்? முன்னேற்றியே ஆக வேண்டும். So if you want to address the problem of poverty in India, then it solely depends on what? The growth and development of agriculture. Yes. Okay. So adukku nama nariya initiatives eduthirukom. For example, you can see the kind of the comparison. In the last, the few decades since independence, when you take the average income of a farmer, it has increased only 92 times. At the same time, when you see the average income of a government servant, it has increased more than 350 times. So still, when you take an average income of a small and marginal farmer, yes, who accounts to 85% of the India's total farmer population, அப்ப இந்தியால இருக்க ஒட்டுமொத்த விவசாயிகள்ல வந்து 85% மேலான விவசாயிகள் என்னது? சிறு குறு விவசாயிகள். Those who have less than 2 hectares of what? Land. Yeah. So when you see that, from that perspective, when you see that the average income is between 3,000 to 4,000 rupees. Yes, and that is why the government of India அப்ப என்ன பண்றோம்? இன்கம் காம்பன்சேஷன் ஸ்கீம் கொடுக்குறோம். It is not something a welfare scheme. Income compensation scheme. What do you mean by income compensation scheme? The farmers play a very crucial role in addressing the food security of this country. Yes, but their income is always between 3,000 to 4,000. So Prime Minister Kisan Samman Nidhi. Yes or no? So what is this Prime Minister Kisan Samman Nidhi? It is a income compensation. It is the responsibility of this government to increase the income or develop the income of the farmers. Yes, but we are still on the way process. Yes, we are still on the progress. Okay, so in due process of this time, the government of India introduces a scheme called what? Prime Minister Kisan Samman Nidhi as an income compensation. So when it comes to the population who are dependent on agriculture, yes, agriculture, I mean, when it comes to the people who are dependent on the livelihood, agriculture is very important. From the perspective of food security, agriculture is very important. From the perspective of rural demand and economic growth of industries, yes, not only rural demand, the raw materials also to the industries, agriculture is very important. When you want to address the problem of what? The raw materials, I mean, problem of poverty, you need to address the problem of what? Agriculture. Okay. Apart from that, what are the other impacts? So now the world is moving towards a sustainable development. Yes or no? So during the Green Revolution, we have used intensive farming. So what do you mean intensive farming? Intensive farming means it employs 3 factors. One is improved irrigation system, hybrid seeds, pesticides and fertilizers. Yes. So அப்ப என்ன ஆகுது? By increased use of, frequent use of this fertilizers, okay, and frequent cultivation of crops from the soil without any gap. Okay, we are not at all giving a breathing period to the soil. But continuously, the intensive farming leads to what? Cultivation. After harvest, immediately the next week, again the cultivation starts. Okay, the soil fertility deteriorates. And the soil fertility deteriorates, and this kind of intensive farming has a serious impact on the ecosystem. Yes. So it has a serious impact on the ecosystem, food chain prevailing in that zone, environmental zone. Okay, so there is a need. Okay, if sustainability has to be ensured, sustainable development has to be carried out in India, then we have to start its initiative from where? Agriculture. So for that, what are the things we are using? Yes, so we are employing soil health record scheme. Why we are using soil health record scheme? To unnecessarily reduce the amount of fertilizer used. Yes, we are moving towards more technology. Yes or no? Neem fertilizer, neem coated urea, nano urea. Yes or no? The nano urea is a very important technological change where the plant absorbs the urea through the leaves itself. Okay, so these kind of technologies, they reduces the amount of fertilizer used, and they have what? Precision targeting. So we apply the artificial intelligence. We measure the exact amount of moisture that is required to the soil by using this precision technology. We can measure the exact nutrient deficiency to the plant that is in the soil using this precision technology. Okay, by employing all those things, okay, so we are moving towards what? A sustainable agriculture without compromising the production. So that is important. You understand? Next, what is the impact of the recent Iran-US war? See, when you take this, the agriculture, the very important, two important minerals that is needed for this agriculture is the potash and phosphorus. That is, we can say that phosphorus and potash-based fertilizers. Yes, and because of this, the US and Iran war, the potash and phosphorus import has become costly. Yes, and the subsidies for the fertilizers have become costly, and obviously it has impacted the current account deficit. Yes, and there is also a need to improve the exports, because for every country there is something called as the prime moving force of an economy. Yes, for Japan, what is the prime moving force? Technology, because they don't have good arable lands for agriculture. But in India, we have the most abandoned arable land than China. China may be a bigger country than India. ஆனால் இந்தியாவில் விவசாயம் செய்யக்கூடிய நிலப்பகுதி என்னது அதிகம் இல்லையா? We have the Indus, we have the Ganga, Yamuna, Brahmaputra basin, Mahanadi, Narmada, Krishna, Godavari, Kaveri, so much of basins we have. Yes, அப்போ நம்ம என்ன பண்ணணும்? So we have to work in a more, appropriate way so that we can increase our imports. We can increase our exports. The compound annual growth in exports should constantly increase in water, agriculture. Yes, what are the success we have achieved? Yes, so you all know this about the revolution. We have so many revolutions: green revolution, white revolution, blue revolution, brown. In all colors we have revolution. And through these initiatives of the government of India in the last few decades, we have become one of the largest producer of food grains, fruits, vegetables. Yes. And where is the other part we have to work on is the food processing industries. Okay. So what is the food processing industry? Now, what is the demand for food processing industry? So this India is moving towards rapid urbanization. Yes, out of the total need for the food processing industry, only 10% of the need is being currently satisfied. So there is a remaining 90% of demand for what? Food processing industries. Okay, so these food processing industries can be an effective source of income in the rural areas. Okay, yes, so these are the other aspects of, yes, the agriculture, the approaches of other aspects of Indian agriculture. Can you understand? Yes. So this is a overall structure. So when you read agriculture, you have to read in these aspects. Okay. So now when you go to the very important topic of today, and you can surely expect a question from this topic. And what is this topic is India's irrigation system. Why this topic is important this year? You all know that the world is moving towards what? Yes, a global bankruptcy, water bankruptcy. Everywhere you can feel the drought. Yes, everywhere. So in spite of this current situation, yes, what is happening in India is our Union Minister for Agriculture has said that India is undergoing super El Nino. Yes, super El Nino. So what is El Nino? You all know the geographic part of the El Nino. Yes, the failure. This El Nino is going to contribute to the failure of what? The monsoon. As I said, the Indian agriculture is dependent on monsoon. So failure of monsoon leads to failure of agriculture. Failure of agriculture leads to failure of the aggregate demand for goods, and thereby it is going to impact what? The economy. Can you understand? Yes. Out of the total arable lands available in India today, yeah, only 55% of the land is covered by irrigation facilities. So remaining land, they still depend on what? They still depend on rainfall. Okay. So when you examine the similar situation of El Nino that happened in 2009 and 2015, yes, it has various impacts on India's agriculture. For example, in 2009, what happened? There was a decline in food production. Yes. When there is a decline of food production by more than 25 to 30%, இல்லையா, உணவு உற்பத்தியில வந்து 25 to 30% ஃபுட் ப்ரொடக்ஷன் என்ன ஆயிடுச்சு? டிக்ளைன் ஆயிடுச்சு. ஓகே, அப்போ என்ன ஆச்சு? இட் ஹாஸ் அ சீரியஸ் இம்பாக்ட் ஆன் த இன்ஃப்ளேஷன். அப்போ ஃபுட் ப்ரொடக்ஷன் கம்மியான பிறகு அப்போ இன்ஃப்ளேஷன் ஆஃப் ஃபுட் கிரெயின்ஸ் என்ன ஆயிடுச்சு? அதிகமாயிடுச்சு. கேன் யூ அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட்? அண்ட் தேர் வாஸ் அ டிக்ரீஸ் இன் ரூரல் டிமாண்ட். The same thing happened in 2015. There was a considerable decline in what? The food production. But there was no inflation because the government has taken some proactive steps of maintaining what? Buffer stocks. Can you understand? Yes. So, whenever there is a failure of monsoon or whenever there is an El Nino, so what happens? There is a decline in agriculture production. There will be a decline in what? The production of the agriculture and allied sectors. Yes, there will be prevailing of drought in this economy. This is going to impact the rural demand, and thereby it is going to have a huge economic stress on India. இது இந்திய பொருளாதாரத்தின் மீது மிக பெரும் ஒரு அழுத்தத்தை கொடுக்க போகிறது. எஸ், இப்போ பாத்தீங்கன்னா யுனைடெட் நேஷன்ஸ்ல ஒரு அமைப்பு இருக்கு, The United Nations Convention on Combating Desertification அப்படின்னு ஒரு அமைப்பு இருக்கு. இந்த அமைப்பு என்ன சொல்கிறது அப்படின்னா, in 2020-23ல 75% of this India's Indian states, or you can say that the India's land area, geographic area, they underwent severe what? Drought. கடுமையான வறட்சி, heat waves எங்க பார்த்தாலும். And they have went to an assessment. How much of this drought has impact on this economy? அப்ப இந்த மாதிரியான வறட்சி என்பது, ஹீட் வேவ்ஸ்னால் வரக்கூடிய வறட்சி என்பது இந்தியா மீது என்ன மாதிரி ஒரு தாக்குதலை, இந்தியாவுடைய ஜிடிபியில எவ்வளவு தாக்குதலை உருவாக்கி இருக்கு அப்படின்னு பார்க்கும்போது 2 to 3% of the GDP has impacted. Okay, there was a reduction in what? The growth rate of how much percent? 2 to 3% of the GDP. Yes, so this is a very important impact on what? This Indian agriculture. So what is the scenario today? You all know this. The monsoon starts in the June. Our June மாசம் தான் monsoon start ஆகும். And what is the assessment of Indian Meteorological Department? 40% of rainfall. Yes, we have received only the 40% of rainfall. அப்ப 60% of rainfall வரல. And what is the crucial month in the monsoon? இப்போ மான்சூன்ல ரொம்ப crucial month எதுனா, it is a July. அப்பதான் transplantation of என்ன நடக்கும்? Agriculture நடக்கும். Okay, and this July is going to have a below normal rainfall. It means we are not going to have 90% of rainfall. Okay, yes, what kind of impact it is going to have? For example, my dear friends, in 2023, yes, we had a very good rainfall in the month of June, but we don't had a very good rainfall in the month of July. Yes, and what kind of impact it had on the agriculture growth? Usually, நம்மளோட agriculture growth வருஷம் எத்தனை % வளர்ச்சி அடையும்னா 5% வளர்ச்சி அடையும். 4 to 5%. Average வந்து 4 to 5%. 4% வச்சுக்கோங்களேன். But because of this failure of this monsoon in the month of July, in 2023, the annual growth rate of the agriculture has come down from 4 to 5% to 1.8%, which is in the economic survey. Economic survey எடுத்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா சொல்லுவோம். அப்போ அக்ரிகல்ச்சர் growth rate வந்து the failure of monsoon in the Julyல என்ன ஆயிடுச்சு? Has impacted the growth. It reduced the growth from 4 to 5% to how much percent? 1.7%. So this is how much our Indian monsoon impacts what? The agriculture growth. Okay. So apart from this agriculture, you all know this. It is going to have a water stress. Okay. Up to 2023, பார்த்தீங்க அப்படின்னா எக்கச்சக்கமான cattles, they don't have fodder to feed. They don't have drinking water. நிறைய cattles வந்து இறந்து போச்சு. Okay. So ecosystem sustainability வந்து it is going to impact it. Okay. So that is why our agriculture minister has said India is currently going to undergo what? Super El Nino. Yes. So as I told you, this is going to impact this rural income. It is going to dent our what? Aggregate demand. It is going to push up our what? Food prices. That is going to cause inflation. So again, the government has to use the buffer stock. Yes. The next is, so what is the impact this kind of irrigation system is going to have on the pattern? Yes. When you take this irrigation system, yes, when you take, or when you take this India, in India, we have a very uneven distribution of water resource. Okay. See, we have only 4% of world water resource supporting 18% of the population. Yes. And when you take in India, certain states, they have a highly well-organized irrigation system. For example, states like Punjab, states like Haryana, they have a 90% water, well-supported irrigation system. Whereas when you take the northeastern states, the irrigation system is very, very less. There is a gap. There is a gap in the the irrigation system. Yes. And hence what happens? There will be a change in pattern of agriculture. Certain states, they may go for rice and wheat. Yes. In certain states, there may be failure of crop. For example, when you take pulses, already we are all deficit of the pulses production. இல்லையா? நம்மள்ட்ட பருப்பு உற்பத்தி என்பது மிகவும் குறைவாக இருக்கு. அப்போ pulses production எங்க நடக்கும் அப்படின்னு பார்த்தா, in all the rain fed areas, எங்கெங்கெல்லாம் மழையை நம்பி விவசாயம் நடக்கிறதோ அங்கதான் என்ன நடக்கும்? pulses உற்பத்தி நடக்கும். So what is the kind of the crop pattern this monsoon is going to impact? Definitely, there is going to be a serious impact in the production of pulses, because this production of pulses is going to be dependent on what? Rainfall. Can you understand? Yes. So, அப்ப என்ன பண்ணும் government? So, government என்ன பண்ணும்? It has to produce more minimum price support, so support these people. Procurement system change பண்ணணும். Public distribution system we have to work on it. Yes, one monsoon failure. Yes. Imagine how much of chain of impacts it has on the Indian economy, the crop pattern. Can you understand? So what is the need of the hour? We need a drought-proof economic model, agriculture economic model. But drought-proof agriculture economic model, whether the monsoon is coming or not, yes, our production of food grains, our production of vegetables, our production of pulses should be constantly happening. Yeah, it should happen. The agriculture activity should be constantly taken down. Yes. So that is the importance of the India's what? The irrigation system. So அப்ப India's irrigation system என்ன பண்றோம்? Once upon a time, we went for what? Big solutions, building big dams. Okay. And encouraging water. Irrigation, canal based irrigation, tube well irrigation. Okay, and that led to predominantly what? Flood irrigation. So what is today's approach? Not building massive dams rather than so much of check dams. Increase the vertical flow of water into the soil. Yes, rather than flood irrigation, you go for more precise way of addressing the irrigation needs, like what? Micro irrigation methods. Can you understand? Yes. So, so this is the importance of the agriculture, and then, the irrigation system. So, India has announced a very important scheme. And what is that scheme? You all know that scheme. The scheme is Pradhan Mantri Sinchai Yojana. Okay. So, you have this per drop, more crop. What? The scheme. Yes. So, when you take this per drop, more crop scheme, yes. So, when you take this Pradhan Mantri Sinchai Yojana, yes. What is the aim of this Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana? Number one, achieve a coordinated investment in irrigation at farm level. Yes, this is not constructing like a dam. This is not constructing a canal. Yes, this is working at the farmer's level. So this is a very important aim of Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Next is increase the total agriculture area suitable for assured irrigation. Yes, it means that increasing the area under cultivation. Enhance farm water to use efficiently. Okay, in India, 80% of the fresh water is used for agriculture. Okay, yes. So we have to use the farm water more precisely. And then, promote widespread adoption of precision irrigation. Okay, and advanced water saving techniques. Next is boost the natural replenishment of underground aquifers, implement sustainable water conservation methods, and examine the reusability of what? Municipality municipality wastewater. Yes, for example, there is a large scope for this area. See, we need to go for a circular economy. What do you mean by circular economy, and what is a linear economy? Linear economy means exploit it. Circular economy means we are going to use the resource again. Can you understand? So when you take big metro cities, yes, in big metro cities, you have gallons and gallons of wastewater generated. So we have to increase the number of water recycling plants. Yes, and we have to encourage people to use this recycled water either for agriculture in their terrace, they can use it for car washing, they use it for their flushing of toilets. Yes or no? So this is what is called as circular economy. Okay. Next is attract a greater volume of private investments into this precision agriculture system. Okay. So what kind of financial support it gives? Yes. See, under this per drop, more crop program, the government gives subsidies. How much percent of subsidies it gives? 55% of subsidies to small and marginal farmers, and 45% of subsidies to what? Drip and sprinkler irrigation. You know this sprinkler. What is the difference between flood irrigation, this sprinkler irrigation, and drip irrigation? So flood irrigation means just filling the entire crop field with what? Water. So what is the impact of this flood irrigation? Flood irrigation leads to what? Leads to is runoff. Okay, fine. It makes the soil more acidic. Can you understand? See, when there is a constant flow of water over the topsoil, it creates a low pressure on the topsoil. And what happens? It encourages salts which is below the soil to come up. It affects and impacts the fertility of the soil. Which one? Flood irrigation. And of course, it impacts the runoff. It means it affects the topsoil. Okay, when you take in agriculture, the 6 inches of the topsoil is the most fertile area. It is the area of what? The microorganisms, where it fixes nitrogen, it generates other necessary minerals to the plants. And this flood irrigation, it causes what? runoff of this topsoil, it makes the soil more acidic. Okay, so drip irrigation means it exactly fixes the amount of water that is needed by the crop. Yes, for example, for 1 acre, if you are using 100 kg of urea, yes, and if you are using drip irrigation, you can reduce the urea of 100 kg to just 10 kg. Okay, you can you keep the urea dissolved in the water for 2 or 3 days. Once it is dissolved, and you can channelize the urea application through what? Drip irrigation. So it is a precise way of addressing what? The plant's urea needs, where the usage reduces by how many percent? 90%. Okay, 100 kg, in case of 100 kg urea that is used in flood irrigation, just 10 kg of urea is more than enough. Can you understand? Yes. Next is, so when you take this, how much of area it has covered, okay, only 55% of the net India's zone area is currently irrigated, leaving behind what? A highly vulnerable, leaving behind a bulk of land to highly vulnerable and erratic rain. And nationally, 2/3 of the arable land faces drought threats, okay, and occurrence of 40% in arid zones. So next is, marginal and small holders represent 80% of this total land holdings and bear the brunt of this exposure. So it means that there is a huge need for what? Expansion of agriculture seriously. Okay? அப்போ இவ்வளோ need இருக்கு. We have a very good program. Yes. And why there is a issue? அப்போ இந்த issue ஏன் நடக்குது? ஏன் இது வேகமா நடக்கல? அப்படின்றப்போ then you can see this. See, when you see some of the structural flaws in the scheme, the very important scheme is, the scheme says that the farmers who has 1 hectare, okay, when you see this, the current model of application of this Prime Minister, the Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana is, there is a financial support to the farmers who are using what? 1 hectare. Okay? Yes. But what happened in India? In India, there are more farmers who are having less than 1 hectare. Yes, the experience of this in Gujarat, it says that you have to reduce this policy from a minimum qualification of 1 hectare unit to how much hectare unit? 0.4 hectare unit, where the small and yes, micro farmers, சிறு குறு விவசாயிகள் மிகவும் 1 ஹெக்டேருக்கு கம்மியா லேண்ட் இருக்கவங்க கூட என்ன பண்ணலாம்? They can get benefited. Can you understand? Yes. So this is a very important serious change that this Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana has to do. Yes, this is a very important thing. Okay, and from that, the other important thing already I have told you is what? The irrigation imbalances and inversions. Okay, what is the irrigation imbalances? Between financial year 16 to 21, the gross irrigated area has increased from 49.3% to 55%. But when you see at the same time, yes, there is an increase in irrigated area in the last 5 years from 16 to 21. But as I told you, some parts of the states of India is fully covered. For example, when you take Punjab, 98% is covered. When you take Haryana, 94% is covered. But when you take states like Jharkhand and Assam, it has only how many percent? How many percent? 20% is covered. Yes. So this is there is a gap. Okay. Yes. And what are the other major issues? The other major issues is, yes, of course. So we are constantly building this infrastructure of irrigation system. But what is the efficiency? The efficiency is coming down and down and down every year because we need to maintain this infrastructure. Yes or no? Yes. So maintaining, or you can say that efficiency of the infrastructure is this. Maintaining of this infrastructure is very, very important. For example, in countries like Israel, the efficiency of irrigation, how much of water is delivered to the crop, that is what is called as efficiency. It is 90%. Whereas in India, the efficiency is only 38%. It means majority of the irrigation still in India, they practice what? Flood irrigation. Can you understand? So there is a lot to work on what? Improving the efficiency, improving the infrastructure. Yes, servicing and sustaining the existing infrastructure. Can you understand? You see this data. Okay, you can see this data. See, by applying this drip irrigation, the consumption of water reduces from 39 to 55%. Okay, and the crop forfeit increases by what? 114.5%. Yes, as observed in Tamil Nadu. But micro irrigation covers only 8% of India's irrigated land. It means that in India, why there is a less efficiency of use of water is because of what? We have only 8% of land that is adapted for what? This micro irrigation. Can you understand? Yes. So what are the other impacts? See, what are the other benefits of moving towards more efficiency water-based irrigation system? Can you tell me? In the recent Tamil Nadu white paper, so our Honorable Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu has released a white paper. So in this white paper, it says that the Tamil Nadu Power Generation Corporation alone suffers around 4 lakh crores of what? Debt. எத்தனை கோடி? 4 லட்சம் கோடி டெப்ட் இருக்கு. எதுக்கு? தமிழ்நாடு மின் உற்பத்தியை வாரியத்துக்கு. Okay, of course there is a mismanagement. For example, yes, ஏன்னா power distribution is in the state list. இல்லையா? power distribution state list இருக்கு. Okay, அப்போ என்னென்ன mismanagement இருக்கு? current leakages இருக்கு. current transmit பண்ணும்போது அதுல இருந்து ஹீட்டா வேஸ்ட் ஆகுறதெல்லாம் இருக்கு. that contributes only to a less amount of this kind of water debt. இந்த மாதிரியான இந்த நிறுவனங்கள் கடன்ல போறதுக்கு முக்கியமான காரணம் என்ன அப்படின்னா, தமிழ்நாடு is giving free current to the farmers. Yes, 2.85 lakhs of Tamil Nadu farmers, they are receiving what? Unconditional, unlimited amount of current for what? Irrigation purpose. இல்லையா? இப்போ அதுக்கான பில் யார் பே பண்ணுவா? அது யார் பியர் பண்ணணும்? Yes, அப்போ what is the current situation? Current situation, the government of India is clear that the state government has to take the responsibility of what? The debt of the electricity distribution board. Electricity distribution board வந்து கடன் தொல்லையால் பாதிக்கப்பட்டதுன்னா அதுக்கு எனக்கு சம்பந்தம் கிடையாது. The responsibility யார் எடுத்துக்கணும்? Government of Tamil Nadu தான் எடுத்துக்கணும். Can you understand? Yes. அப்போ the very important, அப்போ இந்த இடத்துல you have to balance two things. What is the two things? On one hand, in order to sustain, அப்போ irrigation எவ்வளவு important நமக்கு தெரியுது. In order to sustain the food production, we have to support these farmers with free electricity. On other hand, yes, we have to take care of the debt of the state governments also. Yes or no? அப்போ what is the only solution? The only solution is we need to push this irrigation system to a more and more what? Efficient basis system. Can you understand? Yes. The other important aspect of, see, last year they have been asked a question regarding the groundwater depletion. Okay, this groundwater depletion is a serious problem. Okay, it is not only because of this irrigation system, it is also because of one of the policy of the government of India. Okay, what is the policy of government of India? We can accept the genuinity of the policy. For example, in 1965, India undergone a very serious food crisis. There is a need to address a food crisis immediately. So India went to Green Revolution. It encouraged intensive farming. So this intensive farming encouraged farmers to cultivate hybrid varieties, especially food grains, which is called as another, those rice and wheat. So in order to encourage the farmers to cultivate this rice and wheat, the government of India promised a minimum support price. And what is this minimum support price? Yes, the government itself purchased the rice and wheat at a promised price by the government of India. This is a very important policy because it gives a courage, it gives the policy, it encourages a trust that if I go for this cultivation of grains, that is rice and wheat, I am not being prone to this market distortion. இல்லையா, சந்தையில் எவ்வளவு பெரிய விலையேற்றம் இறக்கம் இருந்தாலும் அரசாங்கம் என்ன பண்ணிக்குது, தான் மேற்கூறிய விலையில வந்து என்ன பண்ண போகுது, நெல்லையும் கோதுமையும் ப்ரொக்யூர் பண்ணிக்க போகுது. பட் வாட் இஸ் a negative things of this rice and wheat and sugarcane? They are water intensive crops. This water intensive crop has encouraged people, or we can say that this policy decision has encouraged people to cultivate rice and wheat throughout India. Yes, which is misaligned with the water ecosystem, that region. For example, when you take the Vidarbha district, what is the importance of Vidarbha district? Why Vidarbha district of the government of India has came to a limelight? ஏன் அது ஊடக வெளிச்சத்திற்கு வந்துச்சு? Because in India, the most farmer suicide happens in Vidarbha district. Why farmers are suiciding? Because of crop failure. What is the reason for crop failure? Two things. One is not having good quality seeds, pest attack, failure of monsoon. Okay. So when you take this Vidarbha district is not dependent on monsoon because it is in the rain shadow region of the Western Ghats. Western Ghats ki indha pakkam irukku. Southwest monsoon adukku sambandham kedaiyadhu. But why there is a farmer suicide? Because they started cultivating sugarcane, they started cultivating rice, they started cultivating water intensive crops depending on the underground water. அப்ப என்ன ஆகுது? Through the time there is a depletion of water, the underground water. There is no replenishment. Depletion ஆயிட்டே இருக்க தவிர அது ரீஃபில் பண்றதுக்கான ஆக்டிவிட்டி அங்க இல்ல. அப்ப என்ன ஆகுது? The water level goes down 200 feet, 300 feet. And the average of the bore wells of in Vidarbha region is around 1000 feet. அப்ப என்ன ஆகுது? In the mid of the crop, there will be no water in the underground, there will be a crop failure, and there will be a debt that is accumulated by the farmer because of this crop. Yes, அப்ப என்ன ஆகுது? Money lenders will pressure, the bank will pressure, and obviously, the only option for a most self-respected person of this country, the farmers, என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க? They go for suicide. See, policy, cropping pattern. This is what is called as a crop pattern. How a policy impacts a crop pattern. Yes, appo the water efficiency is not only impacted by flood irrigation, it is also impacted by water, the policy. Okay. Yes. So, and also when you take even the states like Punjab, where you have 5 rivers, what is the problem of this intensive form of agriculture? The groundwater has become contaminated due to the frequent use of fertilizer, frequent use of pesticides and fertilizers. The groundwater is contaminated, the drinking water is contaminated, it is being polluted, and many of the people of this Punjab are suffering from what? Kidney cancer. Okay. So when you take the recent assessment, yes, 17% of India's groundwater assessment units, they deemed what? They deemed to be over exploited. இந்தியாவில் இருக்கக்கூடிய groundwater resources 17% is over exploited. And this was a question that was asked in 2024, I think 25. But what is this government is doing? ஒவ்வொரு மாவட்டத்திலையும் groundwater assessment units வச்சிருக்காங்க. அப்போ what is the level of groundwater? அதை நம்ம கான்ஸ்டன்டா மானிட்டர் பண்ணிக்கிட்டே இருக்கிறோம். When there is a fall in groundwater level, immediately the district administration of the government rushes and investigates why there is a fall in groundwater and what are the ways we can replenish those aquifers. Okay, and for that the government of India has put a scheme. So groundwater depletion is a very important issue. Okay, and also as I said, delay in what? Projects. So we have the accelerated irrigation fund. What is the accelerated irrigation fund? It is a central government funded scheme. It identifies those water projects that are delayed. Okay. Yes. And it gives a financial aid. Okay. So the important problem of this irrigation projects is The project will be declared in 2009. Okay, the budget estimation for the project will be done in 2008, but due to some problem, the project will take off only in 2016. By the time it takes off, there will be an inflation of this what? All the goods, and again they have to revisit the tender, and there will be further delay of what? Projects. Can you understand? Yes, this is also a very important issue. Okay, with respect to the water. And next is, what we want to do is we need to make this water irrigation system more sustainable. How you can make it more sustainable? Of course, we have worked on the efficiency, water efficiency. Yes, we have adapted this water micro irrigation system. Okay, what are the other parts of other ways where we can work and increase the irrigation system is we can push this irrigation to a more sustainable ways. India is a tropical country. You all know this. India is a tropical country. We have 5.5 hours of what? Sunlight. Yes or no? So we can use water. Solar pumps. Yes or no? So for that, the government of India has introduced what? PM KUSUM scheme. What is that scheme? It means replacing this electricity based, or you can say that replacing the ordinary motor pumps with what? With solar pumps. So in this way, we can use what? We can make this irrigation, yes, more sustainable. Okay. Yes, and also we have this PM Pranam scheme. PM Pranam scheme, PRANAM. So this systematically adopts the efficient use of fertilizers, okay, using this drip irrigation system. Can you understand? So nano urea, nano DAP, and nano organic fertilizers. Yes, organic fertilizers, nano DAP, nano urea. These are the other initiatives that is taken by the government of India under the PM Pranam scheme to make this agriculture more sustainable. From the irrigation point of view, they are using solar pumps. From the fertilizer point of view, they are using what? This PM Pranam scheme. The other activities is what? We have to move towards rainwater harvesting. We need the community participation. See, without the participation of the community, the stakeholders, it is impossible to conserve the water. It is impossible to use the better use of water. The water for irrigation. So community-based water management system has to be encouraged. Can you understand? Yes. So, so these are all some of the things, okay, around this Indian irrigation system. Okay. This year, there will be a very important question regarding how India needs to go towards a foolproof or a doubt water proof irrigation system. Yes, since hereafter this world or countries like India is going to frequently adapt what? Undergo these kind of El Nino and other climate vulnerabilities. Yes or no? Yes. So this year the crop failure is due to the El Nino. And what is the reason for the last year? This year, when you take the reason for the crop failure, it is going to be the El Nino. I mean, there is El Nino. And what is the reason for the crop failure last year? When you take the last year's inflation, yes, the inflation of the pulses and the inflation of the vegetables is very high. Okay, the cost of the vegetables is high, the cost of the pulses is high. And what is the prime reason for the inflation of those particular two commodities? It is because of extreme weather conditions. Okay, so there is also a need, yes, to understand this extreme weather condition. And 70% of the crop failure last year is due to the extreme weather condition. But India has successfully developed many what? Climate resilient seed crops. Yes, these seed crops, whether it is wheat, whether it is rice, whether it is pulses, the Indian Council on Agriculture Research have successfully created so much of climate resilient agriculture varieties. Yes, in wheat, in rice, in pulses, in maize. okay, which can sustain what? Extreme weather conditions. Okay, but anyway, whatever might be the climate resilient crop varieties you develop, you need a good what? Agriculture system. I mean, that is a irrigation system. Okay. Yes. So now we are going to work on the cropping pattern. Okay. So as I told you, the minimum support price. What is the minimum support price? The government of India, they are going to construct a committee, yes, on cost and prices, and they will travel all over the India, and they will come to a conclusion how much of cost is being okay spent by an average farmer to the cultivation of per kg of wheat, per kg of rice. Based on that, they are going to give a minimum support price. And this minimum support price policy had a very serious impact on India's consumption. This minimum support price policy had a very serious impact on India's cropping pattern. And you all know this. This minimum support price policy had made India's consumption cereal-centric. What do you mean by cereal-centric? We eat only rice and wheat. That is cereal-centric. That is a highly carbs, and that leads to what? High demand for insulin, and that leads to what? Diabetes. This is the impact on the consumption. And what is the impact on the crop pattern? Yes, wheat. Everywhere wheat. Everywhere what? Rice, and these are called what? Water intensive crops. Okay. So the problem of the India's cropping pattern is the farmers, they prefer cultivation of wheat and rice. And why they prefer cultivation of wheat and rice? Because of the promise of the MSP. And of course, the current government or the government of India has expanded the MSP for other crops also. So we provide MSP for 23 crops and fair and remunerative prices to sugarcane. But what is the issue? The issue is the promise, the government, whether it procures or not. Yes, at the same time, we need to bring a consumer change. For example, the government is encouraging cultivation of millets. But that cultivation of millets should exactly align with the consumption pattern of the people. The people should consume millets. Yes or no? So they were used to eat what? Wheat and rice. So the government has to seriously work on changing the consuming pattern of water, the population of this country. Yes. So this is where the problem is. So the problem here is the MSP policy has led to the encouraging of farmers of cultivation of wheat and rice. Yes, this is a very serious. So what is the solution today? Still India is suffering from this issue. When you take last year's economic survey, the last year economic survey says horticulture has surpassed what? The food grain production. Okay, horticulture has surpassed what? The food grain production. In India, among the fruits and vegetables and food grains, every year we around produce 323 metric tons of water, food grains. This year, I think so, it is 330 metric tons of horticulture product is produced. This is a very positive sign. What is a positive sign? India now moved from the traditional wheat and rice-based cropping pattern towards what? Horticulture. Okay. And this horticulture has emerged as a rapid vehicle for what? Rural transformation. Okay. It increases the income. For example, when you go for a case study, yes, when you go for a case study, India exported around more than 3 lakh metric tons of, 3 lakh metric tons of grapes, okay, to US. This has greatly led to the Maharashtra sharing 67% of this grape, and this has greatly changed the entire, the socio-economic feature of the Nasik. You know this Nasik in Maharashtra. Yes, now it has become one of the most income generating town or income generating urban area in Maharashtra. How it is possible? Because of horticulture, because of grapes. Okay, so there is a change in what? Horticulture. I mean cropping pattern. So the farmers started moving towards what? Horticulture apart from rice and wheat. And how you prove it is when you take this year's economic survey, it says that the production of horticulture product has surpassed the production of food grains. Yes, but when you take horticulture, again it needs what? Very big land area. You have to invest. You have to create green tents. It is capital intensive. Contradictorily, when you take the Indian farmers, 85% of the Indian farmers are whom? Small and micro, medium farmers. Yes or no? சிறு குறு விவசாயிகள் தான் அதிகம். Yes, and we need to hit their cropping pattern. அவங்களோட cropping pattern நம்ம வந்து என்ன பண்ணணும்? Hit பண்ணி. And we need to give a solution where they can increase what? The income. And that one solution is floriculture. It means what? Floriculture is seen as a sun-raising sector in Indian economy. I mean, Indian agriculture economy. Why? Because it gives an effective income resource, alternative income resource to small and marginal farmers. Because in India, 96% of the floriculture land holdings are from small and marginal farmers. Okay? Yes. And it has led to a net export of 717 crores, okay, in the financial year 2024. Okay, so floriculture is seen as a sunrise. Okay, it's seen as a sunrise sector in Indian economy. Why it is seen as a sunrise sector in Indian economy? Because it supports the small and marginal farmers. Okay, they don't need much water capital. Yes, floriculture, they can grow the flowers in a very small water, 0.5 hectares or 0.4 hectares of land. At the same time, it generates effective income to whom? The farmers. Okay, guys. So these are some of the points you have to remember with respect to the cropping patterns, consumption patterns. Okay. So you have to work on the horticulture, how the floriculture works. Okay. And how this horticulture and farmiculture is replacing the existing crop. Okay. The other important thing is oil seeds and pulses. What is the problem of oil seeds? See, we have the government of India has initiated a national mission on what? Oil seeds production. National mission on palm oil production. Why? Because we are still 40% to 50% deficit of what? Oil seeds production. And this year, there is going to be El Nino. And again, the rain-fed areas are the primary source of oil seed cultivation. And hence, again, this year, there is going to be a serious deficit in the production of oil seeds. And this serious deficit in oil seeds is going to lead to what? A situation where we are going to import what? Oil. That is palm. Okay. So what we have to do? So we have to encourage the farmers. We have to fix the minimum support price. We have to increase the sluggish growth rate. Yes. And we have to make India more self-sufficient in oil production, oil seeds production, self-sufficient in water, the pulses production, rather than depending on imports for edible oils and pulses. Can you understand? Yes. So for that, in order to increase the cultivation of millets, in order to increase the cultivation of oil seeds, in order to increase the cultivation of pulses, then the government has to increase the minimum support price. Yes, the government has given 1.5 times more minimum support price last year. Okay, against a weighted cost of production. The government is doing all kind of possible supports. And this support of 1.5 times increase in what? The MSP to these pulses, to these oil seeds, okay, has led to the increased production of, to these pellets, has led to the increased production of 59% of what? Pulses. Okay, 98% of rapeseeds. Yes, so there is a great increase in production of this oil seeds, pulses, and millets due to the increased support of what? Yes. You understand, guys? Yes. So this is with respect to the cropping patterns and irrigation system. Okay. Next is we are going to see the agriculture, credit, and insurance. Okay, this is a very, very important topic. Okay, why? Because when you take the India's this agriculture credit, you all know before independence, the British government has come to an understanding. Yes, you all know this. We have a serious taxation system in the British period. But British காலத்துல வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா only source of revenue என்னது land தான். அப்ப landல என்ன நடக்கும்? Agriculture நடக்கும். அப்ப the British people, if these farmers has to cultivate good, they need what? Credit support. அவங்களுக்கு credit support வேணும். அப்ப என்ன பண்ணாங்கன்னா the government started giving takavi loans. Okay, because the government found that these farmers are highly exploited by the money lenders. Money lenders நால exploit பண்ணதுனால he was not able to make a capital investment பண்றதுனால production கம்மியாகுதுனால tax வந்து கவர்மெண்ட்டுக்கு கம்மியா வருது. அப்ப என்ன பண்ணது? they started giving difficult in giving these loans and getting back the loans from the farmers. அப்ப என்ன பண்ணாங்க அப்படின்னு கேட்டா they enacted Indian Society Acts. அப்ப இந்தியன் சொசைட்டி ஆக்ட் மூலமா நீங்க என்ன பண்ணலாம்? கூட்டுறவு சங்கங்கள் ஆரம்பிச்சு நீங்களே உங்களுக்கு என்ன பண்ணிக்கோங்க? லெண்ட் பண்ணிக்கோங்க. And that was the situation of credit, agriculture credit before the British period. And what is the credit after independence? After independence, you all know this, the first 5-year plan, they give importance to agriculture. The second 5-year plan, they give importance to what? Industries. So from 1955 to 1960s, more importance was given to industries. And unfortunately, India came with a war with China, war with Pakistan, and this 1960s to 1970 is one of the worst year of India because it met with war, it met with serious drought and failure of monsoon. அப்ப என்னாச்சு பாத்தீங்க அப்படின்னு கேட்டா there is a famine. Then the government of India has led to the nationalization of banks. Why it went to the policy of nationalization of banks? அப்ப உடனே கிரெடிட் பேங்கோட கிரெடிட் எடுத்து பாக்குறாங்க. என்ன எடுத்து பாக்குறாங்க? 70 to 80% of the loans is given only to industries and only 20% of the loan is given to the agriculture, that is the farming sector. Okay, அதனால என்ன தப்பு? Because agriculture alone can give what? Food security. அப்ப லோன் கொடுத்த பேங்க் மேல தப்பா அப்படின்னா no. Nobody will give loan to a highly risky or vulnerable business. Yes or no? Agriculture loan கொடுக்கணும் அப்படின்னா my agriculture loan repayment is not in the hands of farmer who is working hard from morning to night. It is not, but is in the hands of monsoon. Monsoon வரலனா அவ்வளவுதான் பேங்க் என்ன பண்ண முடியும்? Okay, so the government felt that this responsibility can be taken only by the government of India, so it nationalized the bank, it gave the priority sector. Once this was given, once this priority lending sector is declared, once this nationalization of banks has happened, then there was a surge in production of food production. Now the government got the confidence. Oh my God. Other from technological interventions. What do you mean technological interventions? Providing irrigation, providing tractors, technology. Apart from biological interventions like giving hybrid varieties, you need credit support. Okay, for that, the government of India, it created the regional rural banks, and then it created NABARD. Okay, so such kind of credit-based interventions and interventions by the government of India was able to see a corresponding surge in production of what? The food production. Okay, okay, fine. Yes, I have given credit. Then, if I want more private sector to give this credit, Or if I want this credit giving to should be carried on throughout the years, throughout the decades in a sustainable way, then what I have to give? Then I have to work on the insurance policy. Why insurance policy? As I told you, India's agriculture is vulnerable. We have still in 2026, we have only 55% of the land is getting irrigated. Remaining 45% of land still depend on monsoon. And then monsoon, one year it comes, 1 year it doesn't comes. 1 year in the midway it gives a good rain, and the second half of the monsoon it doesn't give rain. So it is a more vulnerable sector. So there is a need to give a more what? A concretely problem addressing insurance scheme to this crop sector. Okay, so we had a national insurance scheme for agriculture in 2000, right? And that has not worked so well. So the government of India has introduced what? Pradhan Mantri Faisal Bima Yojana. It is one of the largest crop insurance initiative. Yes. So when you take 2024, around 600 hectares of land got another insured. Okay, and what is the speciality of this Faisal Bima Yojana? Yes, speciality of Faisal Bima Yojana means the insurance can be declared even to a very small area. They can be measured using what? Drone technology. Yes, for kharif crop and for rabi crop, yes, the premium is 2% and 0.5%. Can you understand? So this is one of the very important is the insurance intervention in the agriculture sector. Yes, that helped farmers in a more effective way. Okay. Next is the Kisan credit cards. Okay. As I told you, in 1969, the nationalization of banks, creation of regional rural banks, NABARD. But after this liberalization, privatization, and globalization, this agriculture sector was less taken care by the government of India. But on the other hand, of farmer suicide, again the government has taken this agriculture seriously, and it started introducing a very important scheme. What is the important scheme? Is Kisan credit card. So after increasing this Kisan credit card, the agriculture, you all know this, agriculture needs seasonal credit. Yes or no? Because timely inputs is very important. Timely by purchasing of good quality seeds is important. Timely applying of fertilizers is important. For that, for every timely application, he cannot go and stand in front of the banks for applying loan. So this introduction of Kisan credit card scheme is one of the most operational credit system, where 7.75 crores of Indian farmers is having what? The Kisan credit card, and we have given 9.81 lakh crore as what? The credits to the farmers. Okay, so we have expanded this Kisan credit card scheme to the other sectors like animal husbandry and water fisheries. Okay, yes. Next is Kisan Rin Portal. What is this Kisan Rin Portal? Those farmers who pay the interest in a very proper way, okay, every month when in every harvest season, if they are paying is in a very, very properly manner, the government of India is giving what? Modified Interest Subvention Scheme, MISS. Okay, so why this Modified Interest Subvention Scheme? It encourages the farmers for what? A prompt repayment of what? Incentives. Can you understand? So these are some of the things. Okay, so what are the emerging challenges in this credit and insurance? Can anyone discuss? What are the emerging challenges in this credit and insurance sector? Emerging challenges.
Insurance penetration is
low.
Insurance penetration is low.
Very good. Insurance penetration is very low. Bank penetration is very low in India. Hence, insurance penetration is very low. Apart from that,
difficulty in assessing the damages.
Very good. Difficulty in assessing the damages. Okay, especially to the new climate vulnerabilities. For example, cloudburst. For example, heat stress. What do you mean heat stress? Heat stress means, for example, when you take the agriculture allied sectors, yes, there is a serious reduction in the quantity of milk produced by the milking cows because of heat stress. Because of heat stress, there is a reduced production of wheat. Because of heat stress, there is reduced production of what? Rice. But this heat stress is not a very component in providing insurance to what? To the farmers. Yes, it may give insurance to post-harvest damage, it may give insurance to flood, or it may give insurance to drought. What about the invisible heat stress? That is emerging water. That is emerging climatic vulnerability. Yes or no? That reduces the income of the farmers. That has a great direct hit on the production of water, food grains, cattle, and fisheries. But so what these insurance sectors has to do, whether it may be Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana or any other insurance scheme, it has to inculcate, yes, the new climatic vulnerabilities. It has to include cloudburst. It has to include heat waves. Yes or no? And it has to increase what? It has to include heat stress. Yes. So there is a need for these insurance sectors to adapt and recognize the new trends of what? The climate vulnerabilities. Okay. Yes. And this is with respect to what? The agriculture credit and insurance. Okay. Next comes to the agriculture mechanization. Okay. So what is the importance of agriculture mechanization? If you want to make agriculture more profitable, then it is possible only by agriculture mechanization. What is the reasons for the failure or not adapting mechanized agriculture farming in India? One is, main important problem is fragmentation of lands. In India, we have highly fragmented lands. And in India, majority of the farmers is what? They are small and marginal farmers. So buying an agriculture instrument is capital intensive. Okay. So we need to address this problem of agriculture. Okay. So to address this problem of agriculture, for example, when you take China, it is 80 to 90% it is mechanized. Okay. When you take US, 95% US is mechanized form of agriculture. In India, we have only 35% of, okay, 30 to 35% is mechanized farming. Yes, to adapt this, what we have to do? Yes, we have, so the government of India has introduced custom hiring centers. What do you mean by custom hiring centers? Providing rental based equipments to small and marginal farmers. Okay, yes, it is a submission under what? The agriculture submission on agriculture mechanization scheme. Yes, so it builds rental networks. Okay, so these custom hiring centers, they give requirements on rents for these farmers to encourage farmers to adapt, move towards more what? Mechanization. Yes, and this mechanization of agriculture creates hope to what? Rural employment, and especially gender-based rural employment. For example, when you take the majority of the rural area, what is the scenario? The scenario is most of the male, they are traveling to the cities in search of work. So now the responsibility of taking care of this farming, agriculture, is in the hands of women. Yes, and the rural women, they remain unemployed because there is no agricultural activity. So what the government is doing? So now through the self-help groups, they are recruiting women. They are giving women to use, how to use what? Drones. Okay. So when you take this drone scheme for the women of self-help groups, okay, this is one of the target-oriented scheme. 80% it is central subsidy. Okay, around 1,500 selected women self-help groups. Yes, they were okay, allowed to purchase and rent these agriculture drones. So this becomes what? The sustainable revenue for at least what? 1 lakh per annum per group. Okay. Yes. So today there is a need for this drone. Why? Using the drone, they can spray the fertilizers. They can use what? They spray pesticides. They can spray the fertilizers. Okay, so the quantity of pesticides used, the quantity of fertilizer used is very less when you spray through what? Drones. Okay, so drone applications are very important centers. Next is extension outreach. What do you mean extension outreach? You all know the very important award in economy is what? Yes, we have the Nobel Prize for economy. In India, a person, he received a Nobel Prize, shared his Nobel Prize. For what purpose he was given that Nobel Prize is? By using telecom conversation based intervention. What is telecom conversation based intervention? Regularly informing the farmers regarding when to sow the seeds. This is the upcoming climatic situation. Yes, you prepare well, you just get ready with your drainage system to avoid flooding. Yes or no? This is the right time to put this kind of fertilizer. It is the right time to put fertilizer to increase the size of the fruit. This is the right time to what? By timely intervention, okay, he developed the income of the farmers. Can you understand? Telecom based intervention. Just updating farmers with what? Weather reports. Just informing the fathers at the right time to do the right thing, whether it may be application of fertilizers, whether it may be application of pesticides, whether preparing the fields for drainage system. Yes. So you have this extension outreach, okay, SMAE scheme. Okay, what it does, over 4.49 million farmers, they had this technical extension benefits. Okay. Yes, in addition to this, we have the Kisan call centers. Yes, these Kisan call centers, they have 17 operational hubs with 22 languages. Okay. Yes. So these are some of the inputs that is discussed in your economic survey for the successful implementation of what? The mechanization of agriculture. Okay. Yes. So now we have increased the area of cultivation. We have a fair idea of how we are going to move this Indian agriculture towards a better irrigation and efficient irrigation system. We worked and discussed about the cropping pattern. We have an idea how to move this agriculture towards more sustainable way. You have soil health card, you have PM Pranam scheme. Yes or no? So sustainable agriculture. We have seen the credit and insurance. We have seen the need for mechanization. Yes, so out of these activities, the production is increased. But what is the problem? The problem is marketing. Yes or no? Yes. If this actual income of the farmers has to be increased, then we have to create better platforms where the farmers get the right prices. Yes or no? You all know the very important scheme. What is the scheme? That is ENAM scheme. Yes or no? Electronic National Market. Yes, more than 1.78 crore farmers have registered in this ENAM scheme. Okay. Yes. So by integrating all these centers of India, they come to a conclusion how much of onion is produced in this country today, how much of tomato has come to the market today. Based on this overall demand, they'll fix what? A very healthy price. So that is the use of what? ENAM scheme. Okay. Yes. For example, when you take Maharashtra, in Maharashtra, 1 kg of onion may be 10 rupees. But the same onion in Dharmapuri or Krishnagiri in Tamil Nadu, 1 kg will be 40 to 50 rupees. So by integrating this ENAM center, what it will do? It will create an harmonization in the prices. Can you understand? It will come to an estimation of total demand and supply. Based on that, it will try to fix what? Healthy price. That is the electronic national software. That is the ENAM integration scheme, where 1.78 crore farmers have registered. Okay. Next is why the farmers are falling to the hands of the traders. Yes or no? Because When a farmer cultivates rice, after cultivation of rice, he waits for 3 to 3.5 months for an income. The moment he harvests, there is a pressing need to address his debt. Yes, he cannot, process, or he cannot properly organize the harvest and store it in a storage price because many farmers, they don't have a proper storing facilities. For that, they have to invest a huge shed. Yes or no? He cannot wait for the right time for the right price. The moment he harvests, he has to dispose his harvested food grains. It may be vegetables, it may be fruits. Why? There is a pressing need for debt, and the very important is he doesn't have the infrastructure to store it, or the government doesn't have the infrastructure to store it. Yes or no? So for that, okay, so we have a scheme called Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. It was launched in 2020 to deliver a medium-term debt financing for crucial post-harvest and community farming assets. Can you understand? This scheme was introduced in 1996 itself in Tamil Nadu. It means if a farmers have paddy, but the cost of the paddy in the market is very less. Or when you pay farmers, for example, I have very important, our madam, okay, in cooperative department, they have made an innovative thing, okay, by using the existing, the storage capacity of the government. They created a procurement center, or you can say that the post-harvest loan centers for the garlic farmers in Ooty. Okay, in Ooty, the garlic farmers were being exploited by the traders. So the cooperative society, the cooperative department of the government of Tamil Nadu, it went and utilized the what? You can see that warehouse. Okay. So the farmers, they brought the garlic. Okay, they kept the garlic based on the amount of garlic they had. 50 to 60% of debt, credit was given to the farmers. When there is a return of what? A good price in the market, the farmers can take the garlic and they can sell the market at the higher price. Can you understand? Yes, this is very important. Next is in Kerala, okay, they have enacted they have changed a very important act called the Indian Contract Act 1872. What is the speciality of this Indian Contract Act 1872? When you take the landholders in India, now agriculture has become costly because the cost of the labor availability is very less. Yes or no? So a landlord cannot go for what? Cheap labor here. Yes. But what is the problem of the landlord? If he want to lease the land to any person, he has a fear that the land would be taken by what? The tiller. So we have this in land reforms, we have seen this what? The very important, the act what? What is that act? That act is Rental Act. Okay. Yes. So in 1872, we have the Contract Act, Labor Act, the Indian Contract Act 1872. Now, Kerala allows the self-help groups. Because in India, we have the women self-help groups. Yes, and these self-help groups, under this this Contract Act 1872, they go and approach a landholder. They will take a land for what? Contract for cultivation 5 to 6 years. Okay, on the completion of this contract, the landowner will get the land back. So what is the two important news here? The landowners also is benefited. The self-help groups, yes or no? The poor women, they form the self-help groups, they together work. Yes or no? They together share the profits. And these self-help groups are being supported by the all kind of credit system by the government, equipment by the government. They can easily, when you function as a group, you can easily get the attention of the government for all kind of equipment support, fund, credit. Yes, and this has paid a very important revolution in Kerala, especially commercial horticulture things. Okay, so these are all some of the new things that is discussed in the last 3 years of what your economic survey with respect to the improvement in agriculture marketing and infrastructure. Okay, yes. So next is, what are the climate actions? So you all know this. This is a very, very familiar topic to you guys. உங்களுக்கு எல்லாம் தெரிஞ்ச topic தான். So National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture. Yes. So it is one of the core arm of India's National Action Plan on Climate Change. இப்போ இந்தியாவில் வந்து நேஷனல் ஆக்ஷன் பிளான் ஆன் கிளைமேட் சேஞ்சுன்ற ஒரு ஸ்கீம் இருக்கு. அதுல ரொம்ப முக்கியமா நேஷனல் மிஷன் ஆன் சஸ்டைனபிள் அக்ரிகல்ச்சர் நோக்கி நம்ம போறோம். ஸோ இதுல தான் என்னென்ன வரும்? இன்டகிரேட்டட் ஃபார்மிங். வாட் யூ மீன் பை இன்டகிரேட்டட் ஃபார்மிங்? இன்டகிரேட்டட் ஃபார்மிங், மிக்ஸ்டர் ஃபார்மிங், எஸ். அதுக்கப்புறம் சாயில் ஹெல்த் கார்டு ஸ்கீம், எஸ். இது எல்லாமே எதுல வந்துடும்? இந்த சஸ்டைனபிலிட்டி. அப்போ சாயில் ஹெல்த் கார்டு ஸ்கீம்னா உங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்சது தான். யூ ஆர் கோயிங் டு டேக் அ சாயில், check the minerals, and accordingly you are going to apply. Yes, mixed farming, rather than depending on one source of, so you have to go for poultries, you are going to have what? Cattle, fisheries, or can you understand? Yes. Next one, the organic cluster expansion. Okay, Parampara Krishi Vikas Yojana. Okay, when you want to do organic farming, it is very difficult for a single farmer to do a organic farm. இல்லையா? இப்போ நீங்க ஒரு ஆர்கானிக் ஃபார்மிங் நீங்க பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னா அப்ப நீங்க என்ன பண்ணணும்? யூ ஹேவ் டு கெட் அ சர்டிஃபிகேஷன். திஸ் இஸ் an ஆர்கானிக் வேல கல்டிவேட் பண்ண ஃபுட் நீங்க பண்ணணும். யூ ஹேவ் டு கிரியேட் அ பிராண்ட். எஸ். அப்ப இஃப் யூ வாண்ட் டு என்கரேஜ் ஆர்கானிக் ஃபார்மிங், தென் இட் இஸ் பாசிபிள் ஒன்லி as clusters. அப்ப கவர்மெண்ட் என்ன பண்றாங்க? ஆர்கானிக் கிளஸ்டர் எக்ஸ்பான்ஷன் ப்ரோக்ராம் கொண்டு வராங்க அண்டர் பரம்பரா கிருஷி விகாஸ் யோஜனா. Okay, so in India up to today we had more than 52,289 organic clusters, okay, which covers around 14.99 lakh what hectares. Okay, and next the Indian Council on Agriculture Research have now developed a index called Sustainability Index Matrix. Okay, so in the sustainability index matrix enna solla podhu appadina in how the states are carrying on the agriculture illaya. Ipo you all know this, what is crop diversifying crops and monocropping na nama erkane paathatha, continuously cultivating wheat, continuously cultivating rice, continuously cultivating what? Sugarcane. Only one crop, that is called as monocropping. Yes. And this can be replaced by crop rotation. This can be replaced by what? Crop diversification. So crop diversification is a sustainable initiative. அப்ப நம்ம கவர்மெண்ட் ஆஃப் இந்தியா என்ன பண்றாங்க? அக்ரிகல்ச்சர் கவுன்சில் ரிசர்ச் என்ன பண்ணுது? இட் இஸ் கிரியேட்டிங் அ இண்டெக்ஸ், சஸ்டைனபிலிட்டி இண்டெக்ஸ் கிரியேட் பண்ணுது. ஸோ எந்தெந்த ஸ்டேட்டு எவ்வளோ வந்து கிராப் டைவர்சிஃபிகேஷன்ல ஒர்க் பண்றாங்க? எஸ். இன்ஃப்ராஸ்ட்ரக்சர் growth, சஸ்டைனபிள் இன்ஃப்ராஸ்ட்ரக்சர் growthக்கு எவ்வளவு கான்ட்ரிபியூட் பண்ணிருக்காங்க? எஸ். they are going to rank it. For example, state like Mizoram, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, they have a very high sustainable index. Okay, pushing the agriculture to a more sustainable manner, which is the very important policy in the last 12th 5-year plan. Okay, adhe pola pathina certain regions, Rajasthan, okay, yes, they perform well. You all know this. Rajasthan is the highest production of millets. But certain regions, especially in the Indo-Gangetic plain, it starts from Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh. In the Indo-Gangetic plain, they are become mono agricultural pockets. They continuously cultivate what? Wheat, rice. Okay, so these states, they are prone for high structural climate risk because of this monocropping. Okay, so the very important of this crop diversification is we have to cultivate a crop which is more aligned with the climatic conditions, water availability, okay, ecosystem conditions of that particular region. That is very, very important. Okay, yes. The next is what? Fisheries, livestock. Okay, when you take the profit when it comes to food grain production or livestock and fisheries, when you take the growth, okay, it is only 3% to 4% where in agriculture or food grain production, but when it comes to the livestock production, or fisheries, the growth rate is above 8%. You understand? It means that the agriculture is producing more. I mean, the agriculture allied sector is producing more. Can you understand? Yes. So, when you take the Indian milk sector, the milk sector alone has created, okay, a value of 11.16 lakh crore in the financial year 2023. Okay. Yes. And when you take the growth rate in the last 10 years, okay, rather than the food grain production, agriculture allied sectors have performed so well. Okay. So in that way, so when it comes to the alternative source of, or when it comes to how you can increase the income of the farmers, yes, the very important point lies on pushing the farmers towards what? Livestock and fisheries. Yes, so there is a serious demand for protein in this country, and this fisheries, milk and meat, egg, they are the very important source of protein. Yes, so you all know what is the cost of 1 kg of rice and what is the cost of 1 kg of mutton or chicken. Yes or no? So if the farmers has to have, so by moving towards agriculture allied sectors, the income of the farmers also increasing, and it also serving the need of the nutrition need of this country. Okay. Next is the WTO and Indian agriculture. Yes. So this topic what we have discussed already in the Indian economy, and this was a question that was previously asked. Okay. So when you take this agreement on agriculture, okay, that has been what? Coming under the WTO agreement, it aims for reforming the agriculture trade for a fair and what? Market-oriented system. Okay. So enhancing stability and predictability of importing and exporting of, predicting the predictability of, enhancing the stability and predictability of importing and exporting nations. Okay. What it says, it simply says only one thing. You all know that the Indian agriculture is heavily reliant on monsoon, so there is a need to have what? Buffer stocks. Yes, the government practices public distribution system. The government provides subsidies because this plays a very crucial role in addressing the food security of this country. Yes, when you take the G20 of 2023, why it has become very important? Because when you take the Russian-Ukraine war, Ukraine is the wheat bowl of the world. Once the export of wheat from Ukraine has decreased, it created 20% of what? Inflation in food grains. The same thing happened in 2008, and hence in 2013, India enacted this food security policy. But this agreement on agriculture prevents this government from giving subsidies and in maintaining what? The buffer stocks. Because the WTO agreement seriously says that these kind of intervention of government in the agriculture market, it creates a serious market-based distortion. So the WTO says that India has to withdraw these subsidies that is given. Okay. The WTO says you give a direct income support to whom? The farmers. We don't bother. You give environmental protection to farmers. We don't bother. You may, for doing an research and development, you give subsidies. We don't bother. If there is a flooding or if there is a drought, as a disaster relief measure, you give amount to the farmers. We don't bother. But In the name of minimum support price, in the name of what? Having buffer stocks. Yes, we cannot allow the intervention of government into the agriculture market because all these developed countries with surplus production of agriculture like wheat and rice, they want to enter into the India's market. But this is not a matter of what? This is not a matter of profit or gain. This is not a matter of import export. This is with respect to the food security of this country. This is with respect to the livelihood of 55% of population of this country. So the government, what it says, sorry, we cannot withdraw the subsidy. Can you understand? Yes. So, so in 2013, yes, when this issue has become a very important issue in the WTO negotiation, yes, India used this peace clause. There is a clause called peace clause in WTO agreements. You can find in your Indian economic notes. Okay, it has suspended this argument. Okay, for the time being, by using this peace clause, India suspended negotiating or debating on India's market intervention when it comes to agriculture. What? That is buffer stock or providing subsidies. Okay. Yes. So what is the other impact of this? India is having one of the largest population. India is worried about its food security, and that is why it is making buffer stocks. That is why it is making what? The minimum support price. But what is the drawback? The drawback here is, apart from these things, India is one of the largest producer of food grains. Annually, we produce around 325 metric tons of what? Million metric tons of MMT, million metric tons of food grains. So this issue in WTO prohibits or forbids India from exporting food grains to other countries. Can you understand? This is a issue with respect to what? This WTO. Okay. Yes. So the last topic what we are going to discuss is, yes, food processing industry. Okay. So in what way food processing industry is very important? Food processing industry, there is a need for generation of rural employment. There is a need for export, increase in exports. Yes or no? Yes. And there is a need for creating what? Value added materials. Yes or no? Value added food food products. Okay. So the government, in the view of encouraging this food processing industry, which is just 10% of its actual presence, but remaining 90% there is a serious demand for the food processing industry. Government creates mega food processing parks. Okay, it creates food processing education centers, entrepreneurship development institutes. Okay, and also through NABARD. Yes, the government of India gives loan for what? For constructing and maintaining warehouses, which is very, very crucial. Okay. Yes. And the very important contribution of this sector is it can provide 12.4, it provides 12.41% of the organized manufacturing employment. Yes, for example, in India, we have a growth of service sector. Okay, in service sector, you have a growth. But actual employment is given more by the manufacturing sector. If you want to address the problem of unemployment, then we have to increase the manufacturing sector. Okay, so the greatest scope of increasing the manufacturing sector lies where? Lies wherein promoting this what? Food processing industry. Can you understand? Yes. So these are all some of the overviews of the Indian agriculture. Okay. So what is the expected question for this year? Is definitely there is going, as usual, there is going to be a question from land reforms. Okay, that is a static part. Yes, what is a typical expected question from land reforms? Okay, what are the things that has to be amended, okay, and make this land reforms more what? Application oriented. Because in land reforms, you have two important difficulties has to be addressed. Number one, the land resource of the marginalized people has to be protected. Yes, we have to create modernization of what? Land records. Yes. And when some of the lands is confiscated by the government for government projects, proper what? Compensation amount has to be paid to the people. So for that, we need a very good new law. And you have this Niti Aayog that has proposed one law. Okay. And what are the failures of India's land reforms? In what way this land reforms is necessary to address the problem of poverty? In what way it worked well in creating resource base for the poor farmers? And how land reforms have addressed the problem of poverty in India or not? Okay, so that is a static part, you know about it. Okay, and when it comes to this agriculture part, definitely yes, you can have a very important question from the cropping patterns. So how this floriculture, how this horticulture has emerging as a promising field. Yes, once upon a time the Indian agriculture dominated by the cropping pattern of rice and wheat. Now it is being shifting towards floriculture and agriculture, horticulture. So that. And the third question will be definitely from what? Irrigation system. Yes, how the government of India is suffering from a state of water bankruptcy. Yes or no? So what are the changes we have to bring in this Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana? As I told you, there is a possibility of reducing 1 hectare to what? 0.4 hectares. Whether it is progressing or not, yes, we have progressing. How much of land is irrigated? Okay. Yes, what is the importance of this water efficiency? Okay, and you have to work with all other schemes, okay, with respect to irrigation system. And then the credit we have discussed. We have discussed about the measures pushing this agriculture towards a sustainable practice. Okay, farm mechanization, yes, and agriculture marketing system. Okay, guys. So this is a overall coverage. So this is more static part for this. You make it thorough the last 3 years economic survey, because Indian agriculture is a highly static part. Okay, you master the national mission on increasing the oil seeds. Recently, we had this Pradhan Mantri Krishi Dhanadhanya Yojana. Yes or no? What is the crucial aspect of the scheme? To increase the farmers' income, to increase the production, to improve the districts. Yes, Pradhan Mantri Krishi Dhanadhanya scheme is going to converge all the existing schemes in agriculture, okay, to every districts of this country. Okay. Yes, to increase the production, that is very, very important, to increase the production of the agriculture. Okay, so you be thorough with respect to the oil seeds, pulses. Okay, so what is the need for making India self-sufficiency in oil seeds and pulses production? Okay, and the policies la நீங்க பாத்துக்கோங்க. அதே போல credit, the history of India's agriculture credit பாத்துக்கோங்க. Yes, and how it is successfully implemented. Mechanization க்கு என்னென்ன மாதிரி ஸ்கீம்ஸ்லாம் இருக்கு. Okay, and வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா what are the sustainable initiatives? So we have discussed everything with respect in an overall way. Yes, so the very important aspect of writing mains question answer is don't go for any definitions. Okay, they never expect large page answers. They expect the right answer hitting directly to the demand of the question. Okay, so in that way, how you start is very important. Try to provide some data. For example, if you draw El Nino, yes, what is the need for India to have a drought-proof irrigation system? You put a Venn diagram. Failure of monsoon, how it impacts the economy, how it impacts the food security, how it impacts the, okay, the aggregate demand. Yes. So you just to give a good start. That start is very important for getting maximum marks. Okay, guys. We see in the next class.